small chipper today. We got a 300-gallon tank of mycorrhizae there. A beautiful yard. Some tree expert types. We're all wearing the baseball hats today. We're doing some really picky pruning. And we don't do videos about that. So, see you later. Just kidding.
August, film this cut.
Let me get my drone out.
I'm about to swing one in.
Yeah.
Clearance.
So this job is all about the little tiny dead stuff and creating definition between trees, between shrubs and trees and structures. We have stuff crashing into the house and into the other trees, so you want definition between each thing. A little bit of proximity clearance there, but not too much. Got the dead and the clutter out of this Japanese maple without opening up to the afternoon sun and frying its little tender trunks. And you need to do so properly, meaning your cuts need to be proper. You don't just look at it like a geometric shape and it has to be just scalped into a circle or scalped into a square or whatever. Your pruning cuts need to be made by laterals or leads that are at least 1/3 the diameter of the thing that you're cutting off. And then overall, you don't want to go more than 25% of the overall foliage in one pruning, and sometimes 30%. There are cases where you do whatever you want, but as a rule, as an industry guideline, as an industry standard, we follow rules. Less is more. 15% is good, depending on the species. Some things are ridiculous, like mulberries. You need to try to trick the mulberry into thinking nothing happened. And the way you do that is by doing as little as possible to it, so you don't trigger this prolific regrowth. They're difficult. There's so many variables, and this opens up such a dry subject for me that I don't like to go into, but we are knowledgeable on these things. So the other rule is not cutting off the collar of the limb. So we got the no flush cuts. We got the always bring your cuts near a lateral or a lead that is at least 1/3 the diameter of the thing you're cutting, and then you've got your overall percentage of green foliage shouldn't be more than 25% or 30 or 15 or 20, but you start getting into 40%, 50 or more, then you're not pruning anymore. You're doing some kind of experiment, some kind of cruel Nazi-ish experiment to the tree where you should just eliminate the tree rather than torture it. I'll show you this right here. See how this is crashing in? We're gonna get some definition between these items. Here's the work after it's done, where there's just a slight, I don't know what it translates to on camera, but there's a slight definition, like each tree has its own space. They're not crashing into each other, but they're not like overly done either. This tree especially can burn. It's a shade lover, and it's lucky that it has this one. So, yep, we did that. So the fig tree is all up in the house. We were here 3 years ago, and this is an old Japanese maple. It's in full sun, so it's just been hammered over the years by too much light, and it doesn't have the best real estate either, and it's old, so we're getting some pretty significant dieback. So we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to work on this. So here's that Dr. Seuss out. This tree had a lot of dead in it, remember? A lot of dead. It's an old tree. It's been under the power lines. It's probably been hacked by the power company. Nothing against them, you know, they have to maintain service, safe service. That and the sun has beat down on it. It's a shade-loving tree. It's out in the open. This is sun scalding. So the afternoon sun is what beats down on here. It's old, it's been abused, and this is what we have. Beautician, not magician. It has a nice kind of savanna look now. That's the best we can do with it. The lady loves it. The fig cleaned up away from the gutter. So a lot of times people will, they want to get more for their money. So here's what happens. The homeowner won't really know how to prune a tree, but they think that more pruning is a better haircut, lasts longer type of thing. And they'll take a tree like this and they'll scalp it, and all those leaves, all those little solar panels, they protect the trunk from the heat. But if you get rid of too much material at the wrong time of year, then the afternoon sun will beat down and just fry the bark off the top of it, which is armor. So it's lost its armor, and then this will rot out. It just full on died. It's still clinging to life here, but you know, the writing's on the wall for this. This tree has been hammered by the sun and by being an understory tree with no stories around it, above it, to protect it. So it's not made for this kind of spot. And then it's probably been improperly pruned years ago and had things done to it that exposed it to the sun. Dry, boring. Might be the right thing for somebody to hear. Maybe somebody wants to listen to that. But this is the stuff that I've been doing for 30 years, is learning and explaining and trying to deal with each tree and trying to deal with each tree and each client as per specifically what they need. And a lot of what we do is educating them, sort of unlearning them, because they think they know something, but they'll end up wanting something that isn't good for the tree or for their long-term pocketbook. Improper work is neither good for the tree or the client down the road, but try to get people to understand that is just like this wearisome day in and day out educational process that we don't love to do. And so that's why on my channel, we haven't talked about it much, because we're exhausted from educating the public and from doing the right work and not being, a lot of times the customer isn't that happy because they still have ideas about how it should be done, but they don't have the knowledge to be in charge of that. So am I coming through here? Do you guys understand? I guess I kind of do want to talk about this. The expert will know what I'm saying. He spends a lot of time educating people, unlearning people about what they thought was best for them. They need to know that what they thought was best is often not. You know the term, the customer is always right? Whoever made that up was a fool, because the customer actually is seldom right. And if they were always right, they would be the expert. They would not be the client in a given task. They wouldn't need to hire you if they were always right, unless they were feeble or infirmed in some way and they knew what to do but couldn't do it. Then they could hire you, in which case they would know who to hire based on what they said, and you would have no argument and no effort to try to re-educate them and tell them the details of why we need to do it a certain way. Why over pruning will cost you more later. I think I've said enough. So yeah, I forgot. I was going to show you guys the landscaping around the tree removals. The aspen here, and then the pine over there. You can see this little shrub is the one we had covered by the barrel. This is their electrical and pump electronics, and their pump, and little shrub, grasses, little shrubs, little flowers even still intact. See, all this was under, or in this area where the pine was. Here's the sprinkler I was talking about yesterday that we had covered up. So yeah, landscape fully intact. Nice Japanese maple here. Beauty. We did not harm this thing at all. When you're cutting and chucking stuff, there is a way to do it. There are little places to hit on the ground and guarantee the safety of the property. There's a time to get the rigging out, but yesterday I was able to of the property. There's a time to get the rigging out, but yesterday I was able to just dial it in here without spending a lot of time on rigging and without wrecking the place. So I promised I would show you that in my last video, and there it is. And
No, I wasn't sneaking up.
And there's Damien.
No, I was not sneaking. I we should get some from there.
Yeah, should we redo the video after you blow this?
Probably.
It's a little bit too twiggly for us. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we should blow it.
All right.
Do you want to?
Can you believe we tried to pass that off as a completed cleanup? Oh, gotta watch these tree guys.